Hello, everyone, and
Powered by
welcome to
Riverside
Breakpoint
FM.
Breakdown. This is our very first episode, and I am joined today by my co host, Chase, and we will begin by breaking down the French Open draw. So, Chase, shall we get into it?
Hell yeah, man. Let's get it.
All right, so we're going to be using the TNNS Live to go through these matches, and we're going to be starting with the first round. So, first off, we have Sinner taking on Rinderknech. I've got Sinner.
Yeah, I've Sinner. It's pretty obvious. I mean, it's
Yeah.
not really a
Not
one-sided
going to be much of a
matchup.
matchup. Crowd might get into it, but we know that Sinner isn't affected by these hostile crowds.
Yeah, Sinner does not get touched by these crowds.
All right, now we've got Atman, the French wild card, taking on Gasquet, another wild card. We know about Gasquet's career. He's had a fantastic career, and it's coming to an end here. Will he get through Atman?
Honestly, I could see the crowd playing more for Gasquet just because he's been in the whole ATP tour for a while.
Yeah, me
Along
too.
with along with him having like a really strong backhand, specifically his one-hander. I feel like he'll be Outman and make it maybe to the second or third, possibly. But I don't think he'll go far. Even if he does get this win, I don't think it'll be that much of a confidence booster because they're both wild cards. But I do have him beating Outman.
Okay, yeah, I have Gasquet over Atman as well because Gasquet will definitely have the crowd behind him as he's retiring, but he's probably not going to beat the man he will take on next.
Yeah, he'll not beat whoever he takes on next.
All right. Lehechka versus Thompson. I'm taking Lehechka.
Yeah, I think it's kind of obvious for Lechka too. I think Thompson's a solid player, but Lechka's younger and has more of a passion. I feel like, and he's
Yeah, and
also what's
yeah,
up?
go ahead.
Yeah, he's sorry. He's also Lechka's also shown like flashes of brilliance like throughout this year and last year. So I
Yeah,
feel like Lechka's gonna beat
100%.
Thompson.
Yeah. Lehechka, a huge ball striker, and Thompson, not really a clay guy.
Yeah,
All right, I'm next taking Davidovich Fokina to beat his Spanish qualifier Lamas Ruiz.
yeah. This was kind of obvious to be
Yeah.
honest. I mean, everybody knows Joaquin is a clay merchant. I'm gonna say it like
Yeah.
even versus another Spaniard, Joaquina's game on clay specifically is just too strong to be interrupted by mostly everybody aside from like the top 20 players on the round of 128.
I agree. Okay, Rublev is in the final of Hamburg. As we are recording this, he is yet to play, but he's taking on Kaboli tomorrow. He takes on Lloyd Harris here in the first round at the French. I'm taking Rublev to take this pretty comfortably. He should.
Yeah, I see Rublev winning it in straights. However, I do feel like he's gonna be a little bit fatigued for Roland Garros
Yeah,
from
for
Hamburg.
sure. But
So
I,
I
I
feel
just
like
I just don't see Harris being much of a threat.
oh yeah, I don't see Harris being a threat either, especially because he's the qualifier. But for Rublev in the later rounds, I feel like physically he's definitely going to feel it, which is why I think he shouldn't have played Hamburg. But if it gives him a confidence boost, then 100% he should have played it.
Yeah, I think Hamburg was actually good for him because he was really down on confidence before that. He hadn't won many matches coming in, so I think Hamburg was actually a good idea for him to play.
Yeah, he had lost many rounds early as well, so I think he needs
Yeah.
this definitely.
All right, Martyr Walton. I'm just gonna take Martyr because he's a qualifier and he's had those 3 matches coming in, so I'm taking the qualifier.
Yeah, for these kind of no-name type of players, I'm just taking people that have had more experience, aka the qualifiers. I feel like they have a better chance than the people just coming into the tournament. So that's what led me to pick. Um, that's what led me to pick Martyr.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
And then another kind of one of these no-namer matchups. I'm picking Munar to take out Ugo Carabelli. Munar's been pretty
Actually,
good this season.
yeah. Funny enough, I've seen Munar play. I like his game style because his serve looks like Rafa's. But
Yeah. By the way,
I
for those of
have,
you that don't know, Chase is a huge Rafa
yeah,
fan.
I'm the biggest Rafa like fan you're ever gonna see in your life. But I see Munar winning this just because I've seen him put up like decent fights against top players. So I feel like he'll at least make the second. But
Yeah,
that's
he's
just my
definitely
take. Yeah.
upped the aggression this year, which is why he's been having more success.
Yeah.
All right, now this is a bit of an interesting matchup. Artur Fils, the #1 Frenchman, he's going to have the crowd behind him, but he takes on the Rome finalist from last year, Nico Jari, who's also a dirt baller, but Fils should get through this one.
Yeah, I see Feast winning this too, but Jari's low key like a serve bot, so like I don't
He is, yeah.
I see it going to like at least like one or two tie breaks. But
Yeah,
Feast is
Jari.
definitely gonna play the crowd. Knowing Feast, dude, he's gonna be yelling out like out of his mind, man.
Yeah, I know. Feast is gonna get the credit into it. And by the way, Feast is 0-2 actually, so he's never won a match here at the French. So
You
that's something
serious?
interesting to keep in mind.
That's insane. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. I
Yeah,
still
so
have
that's
Feast
just
winning though.
something
I
interesting to
think.
keep in mind.
Yeah, I think he's brought his level to the point that he can make a push for the third round
Yeah, yeah.
or fourth.
All right,
Yeah.
Alex de Minaur, I'm picking him over Jer, even though Jer actually pushed Alcaraz to a tiebreak in the first set when they played in Rome, but I have de Minaur.
Yeah, I remember seeing Degier's name actually putting up a fight in Rome, but again, it's Damon Minard, one of the fastest movers on the tour. He's
Yeah,
getting his game on clay
and
as
de
well. I
Minaur
mean,
by far has been having his best season on the clay this year as well.
oh yeah, 100%. I see Damon Minard winning this in straights most likely.
All right, bit of an interesting matchup here. Bublik and Duckworth. I'm going to pick Bublik because he actually won a challenger last
Yeah,
week on the clay as well.
yeah, I saw that. Dude, his rank went up like 25 like spots. I think he's now in
Yeah,
the
I know.
top 50.
I think he's about 51 now, and he
Yeah,
was like
he
80
is.
before.
Yeah, he's
So
51 now. So that
yeah,
confidence boost is gonna
that's
be
good for him.
crazy. You know he's gonna hit like some underarm servers, some crazy
Yeah,
things too
yeah.
in his match.
I would not be surprised.
But yeah, along with that, I take Bublik as well. I would take him over James Duckworth.
All right, another interesting matchup here between two qualifiers. I'm picking Basilashvili to take out the Portuguese qualifier Henrique Roca.
Yeah, I have Basilashvili just because I've seen his name in like multiple like matches with competitive players. I can't specifically say I've seen his game, but I've seen his matchups with competitive players like Alcaraz, everybody else. I've seen them go to like four sets and slams. Like I've seen him go to four setters with like top 10 players in slams.
Yeah, Basilashvili, actually, if you haven't watched him, he's a really interesting player. He literally tries to hit the ball as hard as he can. That's literally his game.
So he's like Sabath Wild basically.
Yeah, kind of like Sabath Wield, the Brazilian. He tries to hit
Yeah,
the ball as
okay.
hard as he can, and he actually made the final at Indian Wells in 2021. Believe it or not.
Are you serious?
Yeah, it was a big run back in the day.
Oh no.
All right. Now this is actually a pretty interesting
Yeah,
matchup.
this is good.
Jakub Menchik, the Miami Open champion, takes on Alexander Mueller, and Mueller did just take out Zverev in Hamburg.
Yeah.
What a match this is going to be. This is going to be tough, man.
Yeah, I actually just saw that. I saw the highlights of their match like 2 days ago. Dude, Muller has some passion, man. That guy can clear the court like a lot. But at the
Yeah.
same time, I think Mensic's spot serving specifically, especially on clay, I think Mensic's gonna beat him in straights just because he doesn't get broken. On top of that, Mensic's ground game is also, in my opinion, stronger than Muller's, so I still see Mensic winning in straights.
All right, this is going to be the first one I think that we are going to differ on. I am taking the upset, and I am picking the Frenchman to come through. I think just him with the crowd getting involved, I think Mensic's not going to like that. And even though Mensic has a big serve, remember, it's on clay, it's going to get neutralized by Mueller. I'm picking Mueller to win this in 5.
Okay, well we'll see how that matchup goes.
Yeah,
Talk about that for sure.
yeah, it'll be interesting to see how that one goes.
It will be really interesting. And I'll talk about our next matchup, dude.
All right, yeah, this next match is huge, guys. Hubie Hurkacz, who is in the final right now in Geneva, he's set to take on Novak Djokovic tomorrow, but he takes on the wonder kid from Brazil, Joao Fonseca. Early thoughts here, Chase.
Dude, you already know the crowd's gonna go crazy for Fonseca, but at the same
Yeah.
time, I feel like he's gonna be nervous playing a player of Hurkacz's caliber, especially because he hasn't been playing like these type of players since the BMP. And one of my other reasons for seeing Hurkacz also maybe pulling off an upset is that he plays Djokovic like this week, which will also give him more of more time of gameplay on clay against this higher level. But I also feel like Fonseca is just like I feel like Fonseca, if he gets fired up, he's gonna take control of the crowd and take control of this match against Hurkacz.
Yeah, one of the things I'll say is that in Geneva, there's a little bit more altitude there than there is in Roland Garros, and I think that might affect him when he does take on Fonseca. So that's what I'm thinking. I'm gonna go with the Brazilian here, but
Yeah.
it should be 5 sets.
Yeah, I'm going with Fonseca. It'll definitely be 5.
All right, all French battle here between Pierre-Hugues Herbert and Benjamin Bonzi. Look, Herbert's a wild card, and I haven't really seen him in the draws recently. Bonzi, I'm picking Bonzi.
Yeah, I've seen Bonesy around as well. He's got into a couple draws for sure.
Yeah, I think he won the first set against Taylor Fritz in Madrid, so that was
Yeah,
interesting.
that's crazy.
All right, and then I'm gonna pick Monfils to beat Delian.
Yeah, it'll be fun to see Monfils play in Roland Garros, dude. He's
Yeah,
gonna get the crowd
and
pumped
we
up.
don't know how many more French Opens Monfils will get to play as well
Oh yeah, for sure.
at 38 years of age. All right, I am picking the number 5 seed Jack Draper to take out Bellucci.
Yeah, I mean, I think this one's kind of obvious. Draper's elevated his level this year, starting in like the top 20 or top 10, getting up to around 5. That is
Yep,
insane.
5 in the world.
Especially for the level that he's been playing these past couple months. I feel like he's gonna come in Roland Gar- I mean, I feel like he's gonna come into Roland Garros with something to prove. I feel like he could definitely make a deep run along with like these upcoming rounds, and I feel like this one is gonna be a confidence booster for him on clay specifically. I feel like he'll get more of a feel for his game. I have him winning in 3 straight sets, no doubt.
Yeah, this is a really nice draw for Draper here in the first round to kind of get his feet set in Roland Garros.
Yeah.
All right, now this is one that we kind of just discussed before coming on air here. Zverev takes on Lerner Tien, and as I mentioned to you, Chase, Tien did beat Zverev in Acapulco, but this is a little bit different on the clay.
Yeah. So I've seen Tien play Riley Opelka on clay, and his
Yeah,
gameplay
in
was
Rome.
mediocre in my opinion compared to the level that he would have to play versus Zverev, which is why I have Zverev beating him in straights. But then again, Zverev also has been getting upset by literally everybody,
Yeah,
including Muller, who we just
Muller
talked
last
about.
week, yeah.
So I think it's still like a 70-30% that Zverev's going to win. I
Yeah, that's
feel
a good
like
way to
there's a
put it.
mental side of him that could bring him down, but I also feel like even though like his mental game is so weak, I feel like he has enough mechanics to beat Tien on that part, which is why I think he'll win in straights regardless.
Yeah, it's a good way to put it. He has more mechanics. I
Yeah.
think Tien could win a set against Zverev, but Zverev should come through in 4.
Yeah, I could see that for sure. 4 or 3.
All right. Now, Jesper de Jong did play Sinner in Rome, and he did pretty well in the first set, and I think he'll have enough to take out Francisco Pissarro.
Yeah. The thing with De Jong, didn't he get injured in the second
Yes, he,
set?
he injured his wrist after a fall.
Yeah. So that's I think that killed his momentum, but I also feel like he'll come back with a slight bit of a confidence deficit due to that injury. However, I don't think he should have a problem versus Pissarro, considering he played at that level that he played versus Sinner.
Yeah,
I
he
think he'll
played he
probably
played Sinner very well in that first set until he got injured.
yeah, I can see him winning in 4 or 3 for sure. No doubt about it.
All right. Flavio Caboli is in the final in Hamburg this week. As I mentioned, he's playing Rublev there. I think he's going to get through the lucky loser, Chilich.
Yeah, I don't honestly. Chilich can't move as well as he used to. From what I've seen, I've seen him playing challengers. He cannot move that well anymore. I
Yeah,
think his
Paige
forehand is
catching up to him.
Yeah, I think his forehand is still a pistol. However, I think Kaboli moves very well on clay. I think I've seen him play Baez actually in a clay final. I think about like 2 months ago when I was at the gym, and
Okay.
Kamoli was moving very well versus Baez. Is it Baez or Baez? I always
Bias,
forget.
yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
Baez. Okay, yeah, Kaboli was moving very well versus Baez. His game also accompanies him well on clay, which is why I think he'll beat Chilich in straights or 4. It
4,
won't.
yeah.
It won't be a close match.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think Chilich should get a set, show his class. He is a
Yeah.
Grand Slam champion, Chilich.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, now this is a big match. I could see this being an upset. Matteo Arnaldi, who took out Djokovic a few weeks ago in Madrid, takes on the 29th seed from Canada, Felix Auger-Aliassime.
You think Aliasim's gonna get upset? That's interesting.
Well,
I
yeah,
honestly, yeah, he
Arnaldi's
hasn't been
been in
playing like.
very good form.
Yeah, I just feel like Aliasim also has something to prove at Roland Garros. Kind of a Jack Draper story. He hasn't. Aliasim hasn't been able to elevate his level this year. Aside from when he played, I believe it was
He
Rublev.
won 2 titles in 2 months, in the first 2 months on hard
Yeah,
courts, but he's not been the same since.
yeah. Until then, he has not been able to do anything, and I feel like it's kind of a pent up like kind of emotions there. I honestly feel like he's gonna beat Arnaldi in 4 or 5.
All right. Well, I think this is the second time I'm deferring from you. I'm going with upset. Arnaldi's going to take out FAA.
All right.
All right.
We'll see the matchups on Sunday.
All right, now this guy's a bit of a dark horse for me. Francisco Cerundolo, the 18th seed, he takes on Gab Diallo, who Diallo, by the way, had a good run in Madrid. He made the quarters. But Cerundolo, I think, has just been playing so well recently. I think he should win this in straight.
Yeah, no, Cerundolo has been achieving a higher level, especially in these past couple months on clay. Cerundolo's been going insane, man. I see him winning this in straights too. I
Yeah.
don't think it'll be a problem aside from Diallo's serve, which we both know is
Yeah,
insane.
Diallo, 6'8" Canadian, he's got a huge serve.
Yeah, his serve is insane. However, I do think that Cerundolo's movement and his gameplay is just too much for Diallo to handle, which is why I have him winning in straights as
Yeah,
well.
and his serve will be neutralized on the clay.
Yeah, 100%.
All right, I'm gonna pick Greek Spore to beat Giron.
Yeah, I think this is pretty obvious. Giron just doesn't have the consistent game style to win these type of matches, especially against somebody like Greek Spore. I see Greek Spore winning in 4-3. I don't think this will be that much of a challenge for him, in my opinion, because Giron just doesn't move that well on clay as well.
Yeah, true.
Uh,
But we should mention that Giron took out Fritz in Rome last week. That was a huge win.
yeah, but then again, it's also Fritz. You gotta take that with a little bit of
Yeah,
a
I
grain
know.
of salt.
Fritz hasn't had the same year this year, and obviously that's been due to some injuries that he's had. And we'll get to Fritz a little bit later as we break down his match.
Yeah.
All right, now we got the lucky loser Shevchenko coming in. He takes on Dusan Lajovic. I'm gonna take the Serbian Lajovic in this one.
Yeah, I think it's kind of obvious. I mean, lucky loser, you you kind
Yeah.
of coming in with a little cap over your head. So, I mean, I've seen Lahovic in some high tier draws. I haven't seen that much of Shevchenko, which is why I'm picking against him. I see Lahovic winning this in 3 or 4 as well.
Alrighty. Ethan Quinn, American qualifier. A lot of us here in America have really been pumping him up, but Dimitrov, I think he's just gonna have a little bit too much class, and he'll come through against Ethan Quinn.
Yeah, I see Dimitrov cutting it up versus Quinn, especially coming back from. He had an injury, no?
I'm
Unless
sorry,
I'm
who had an
wrong.
injury?
Dimitrov?
Dimitrov? No, he just had a bad loss in Rome.
Okay. Um, but yeah, I still see Dimitrov coming back regardless and just chopping it up on clay. I feel like his movement is still clean at his age. I also feel like his slices is going to prove very effective. And then the way he sets up his forehand as well, I just don't.
Yeah,
I don't.
Dimitrov's serve plus one is one of the best in the game.
Yeah, I don't see Quinn putting up that much of a fight. Dimitrov is probably going to end up winning in 4.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that sounds about right.
Yeah.
All right, now this is an interesting matchup. Medvedev versus Nori. People have kind of been pumping up this match between Medvedev and Nori, but I'm going to kind of reject that premise right now because Medvedev leads their head-to-head 4-0, and he just beat him in Rome 4-2. So I think Medvedev's going to come through here pretty comfortably, even though Nori made the semis in Geneva.
Yeah, I think with Medvedev and Nori, it's going to be a confidence issue on Nori's part. I feel like Medvedev definitely has that fearmonger type of aspect against Nori,
Yeah.
especially because, like you said, their head-to-head is 4-0, and Nori just made the semis and lost, ended up losing to Djokovic as well. I feel like his confidence is going to be semi-low, and I feel like he's going to come into that match with not that much of a fight, which is why I have Medvedev in straights.
Alrighty. Now Emil Rusevori from Finland, he's a bit of a good story. He had mental health issues, and he's coming in here. He said he hadn't played for 4 months, so this is going to be interesting. I'm going to take the American here, Alexander Kovacevic.
Oh, yeah, honestly, I'm going to take Kovacevic as well, just because of Rusevori's mental issues. And not playing in 4 months is a serious step back, unless you're like Yannick Sinner, who came
Yep,
back after three
Sinner
months.
with the 3 months. Yeah.
Yeah, but I don't see Rusevori putting up that much of a fight. I see him losing probably in 4 to I see Rusevori losing to 4 against Kovacevic.
All right. Now Stan Wawrinka, he's a wild card here. He obviously won it here. He's 40 years old.
Yeah, that
Can you
is
believe that?
yeah, that yeah, we have to applaud that, man. That is just crazy. The
Yeah, we need
physicality to
to
be able to
applaud
do
that. The
that.
fact that he is still out here competing at that age. He's obviously a former champ at the French Open. This Jacob Fernley guy from Britain, though, he's a college player. He's a solid player. I'm going to take the Brit here.
You're gonna take the Brit? Okay.
Yeah.
This is another one we're differing. I'm taking
Okay.
Wawrinka simply due to the fact that he's gonna be retiring soon. I feel like,
Yeah.
especially the Roland Garros crowd, they have a lot of respect for him, which is why I have him winning this. Probably in 4 or 5. I don't think it's gonna end up in 3 because
No,
Fionley's still
it won't be
young.
straight.
Yeah, it will not be straights. I have Fionley putting up a fight, but I still have Wawrinka winning. However, I do have him most likely losing in the second or third, unfortunately.
Yeah, and this might be Stan's last French Open. We just need to keep that in mind.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, O'Connell Humbert. This is interesting because Humbert, he's a very flat hitter off the ground, and his game does not suit the clay at all. But Chris O'Connell's from Australia, and he's not really a clay guy either, so I guess I'm just going to take Humbert because he's going to have the crowd in France.
Yeah, no, I 100% have Humbert here. I hope he doesn't pull what he did in Paris and do that like that loud grunting. It's very,
Yeah,
very,
that
very
Humbert
annoying.
grunting in the indoor courts in France was getting a little bit excessive.
Yeah, that was very annoying. I hope the French crowd doesn't hold a grudge against him for that. I do think he's gonna win in straights against O'Connell. I don't see O'Connell putting up that much of a fight either. But we'll have to see the results.
All right. Next up, we got Denis Shapovalov, the 27th seed, up against Pedro Martinez. Shapovalov, he's kind of been in shocking form. He won the title in Dallas, but since then he hasn't been great. And Pedro Martinez on the clay. Martinez is a dirt baller after all, so I'm picking the upset and going with Martinez.
Yeah, I'm also picking Martinez here simply due to the fact of from the Shapovalov loss to Dadura. I feel like his mental game is gonna be very low, and his confidence, especially in his backhand, I feel like is gonna just be disintegrated. Considering how Dadura played against him with his lefty forehand and everything, so I see Martinez winning this in four. I don't see Shapovalov putting up that much of a fight on clay, especially with his game style. I
Yep.
don't see it happening.
All right, I'm gonna pick the qualifier Philip Mislic to take out Bu from China. Not much here. I've seen a little bit of Bu play. He is a pretty big ball striker, and I just don't see him doing anything on the clay. And Mislic, I don't know much about him, but I know he's qualified, so he's won 3 matches to come through. So I like the qualifier.
Yeah, I have Mislic the experience on the court so far, 100%, and I've seen Boo in some competitive draws as well, which I think
Yeah,
is why I think it could go to 4 sets or five.
he did
But
beat Rublev last year, but that was in Beijing.
yeah, that was an entirely different surface. Still kind of slow, but it's
Yeah.
still clay. I think Mislic is gonna win this.
All right, I'm gonna pick Moutet against his Frenchman Tabour, the qualifier. I'm picking Moutet.
Yeah, I'm picking Mute as well, just simply because you know a guy like him is gonna play the crowd, and I
Yeah.
feel like a lot of
Well,
people.
he's not gonna have all the crowd on his side though, because he's playing another Frenchman.
Yeah.
But he'll get the crowd involved, yeah, with his shot
Oh yeah,
making.
with
Yeah.
his shot making and his gameplay, yeah, he's gonna
Yeah.
get the crowd going. I also feel like he has so much variety, especially in his drop shots and everything else, that he's gonna throw Tabur off for sure. Because Tabur isn't used to playing somebody like Mute.
All right, Djokovic over McDonald. I don't think we really need to go into that much.
Yeah, it's not,
Yeah,
it's not that
Djokovic
much
should
depth
win.
there. It's kind of a straight match, yeah.
All right, another one kind of like that. Musetti should beat Hanfman.
Yeah, Musetti should win this in
Yeah.
straights, especially with the level he's been playing on clay in the past couple months.
All right, and then I'm picking Carballés Baena to beat the French wildcard Royer. I've never heard of Royer before, and Baena I know is a dirt baller, so I'm picking Baena.
Yeah, Banya is one of the best Spaniard dirt ballers that I've seen in a while, especially nowadays. So yeah, I have him winning in straights as well against the wild card.
All right, this is a bit of an interesting matchup. Opelka Hijikata. I'm just gonna go with Opelka because I'm kind of biased, man. I'm American. I mean, that's really the only reason I'm picking Opelka here.
Yeah, I've never seen Hijikata play. I think
Yeah,
Opelka is also a serve bot, but I think he's an efficient serve bot on clay. I feel like he's going to use kick to his advantage, which is why I have him winning this as well in straights. But that's all I have.
all right. And then Navone Nakashima. Now, Navone is very good on the clay. If you remember, Navone was Yannick Sinner's first opponent when he came back in Rome.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, I don't know. I could see this being an upset, but like I said, I'm American and I'm just a bit biased here, so I'm gonna pick Nakashima.
Okay. I see Navone winning this due to his return percentages on clay being very, very high. I feel
Yeah,
like he's going to steal a lot of everybody's serves that he plays, and I feel like he can beat Nakashima in three or four. I don't see
yeah,
him having that much of a difficulty against Nakashima, especially because he's one of the best movers on the surface. I think his game is suited for this.
yeah. I feel really good about your pick, and I'm not. That's probably the one that I'm least confident on the ones that we've differed from.
Yeah.
All right, Tomas Mahach takes on Alice from France. Now, Mahach has been shocking in his retirements. He has retired consistently since winning the title in Acapulco. Uh, I mean, look, if Mahaj is healthy, he should win. But like, I don't know. Like, Chase, what do you
It's
think?
dude, it's just like I don't. I think his health's been up and down recently, which is a lot of why people have doubts against Mahach's level on clay right now, and especially in general. I don't feel like he'll win this match. I feel like Hollis is gonna have the crowd partially on his back as well, and I feel like Mahach is gonna be having a lot of confidence issues on the court, specifically with his health, like we've said before. And we saw him retire when we were watching the BNP
Yeah,
as
we
well.
Chase and I were at Indian Wells. We watched Mahaj play Yosuke Watanuki, and he was clearly sick in that match, and he had to retire.
Yeah. So I don't feel like Mahach is gonna put up that much of a fight. And yeah, that's all I really have to say about that matchup.
All right, well, that was a pretty convincing argument, so I'm gonna pick Alice as well.
Yeah.
All right, this is an interesting matchup. I think this matchup is 50-50. Miomir Kecmanovic takes on Baez, who we talked about earlier. Baez, one of the best dirt ballers, but he has trouble converting his South American clay court form into the European clay court form. Uh, Chase, what are you thinking for this one?
Yeah. Yeah, honestly, dude, I feel like Baez, especially in Masters 1000s and Slams,
Yeah,
I think his level differs, and especially on European clay, like you said. However, I do feel he'll be able to get the job done simply because of his level on clay.
his clay credentials. Yeah.
Yeah, his clay credentials. Yeah, I feel like he'll be able to get this done against Kecmanovic. Whether it's in 4 or 5, we won't know. I don't think it'll be in 3. I think it'll be in 4 at least. However, I do see him winning this match regardless.
All right. I don't know. Kitsmanovic is just like one of the fittest guys out there, and I think if they play, it's gonna go 5 sets. And I know Baez is fit as well, but I talked about him just having trouble to convert onto the European clay. And Ketsmanovic, he's just he can turn it on in these slams. He's made slam runs before. I'm picking Ketsmanovic.
Okay. Well, we'll see how the draw goes then, huh?
Yeah. All right. Now we've got Botic van de Zandschulp. I'm taking on Emilio Navo. Chase, Van de Zandschulp has beaten Djokovic, Nadal, and
And
Alcaraz
Alcaraz.
all in the past 10 months. I
Yeah.
mean, that's insane.
Yeah, that is crazy of a player of his caliber, which is also why I have him winning this match. I feel like he can kick up his pace of gameplay pretty high. I
Yep.
feel like the ceiling is very high for him. I feel like
But
he
he can
should win
also be
this.
very low as well.
Oh yeah, his playstyle
Yeah.
can be very very low, but I also see him winning this in 4 or 5. I don't see him winning it in 3 simply because of his gameplay, his average
Yeah.
level. However, I do see him winning this match.
Yeah, I got the Dutchman as well. All right, now this
Yeah.
is an interesting matchup. Holger Rune, the 10 seed, the Barcelona champion, he takes on Batista Agut, and we know Batista Agut is a super solid player, and he did just take out Francis Tiafoe in Hamburg.
Yeah. So I feel like for Runa, this is going to be a challenge of consistency against Agut because we both know Agut's getting pretty old. I
Yeah,
feel
he is.
like, yeah, I feel like Runa's physicality should be able to outclass Agut. I also feel like Runa's confidence is kind of teaming with his win in Barcelona against Alcaraz. Even though Alcaraz is injured, I still think the confidence is there for Runa. I feel like he should win this match in straights,
All
honestly.
right. I'm going to give Batista Agut a set, but yeah, Rune in 4.
Yeah.
All right, now Tiafo, he made the final in Houston, but man, oh man, ever since making the semifinals of the U.S. Open last year, he has just not been the same.
He has not done
Yeah,
anything. I
yeah,
mean,
I don't know. Tiafo, he played Sefulin in Shanghai, and if you remember, after that match, Tiafo had a whole thing with the umpire
yeah, that was
due to a
really
time
bad.
violation, and he went at it at the
Yeah, dude,
umpire.
he went he went off, man. That
Yeah,
was a bad look for
it was a
Americans
very
entirely.
bad crash out from him.
Yeah, I honestly still have him winning this match though because we've seen how much topspin he hits with in his matches at the BMP. We saw the
Yeah,
comeback
we
that he
watched
had.
the Tiafo play against
Yeah,
the qualifier.
yeah. I see Tiafoe winning this simply due to his success at Houston as well. I feel like he'll transition to Paris decently. I don't think he'll make a deep run. I think he'll make it to round 3 or 4. But that's my outlook on his road.
Okay. Um, I'm gonna just for the sake of debate, I'm gonna pick Sefulin.
Okay.
All right. Carreño Busta, he's a former top 10 guy. He got injured a few years ago and he hasn't been the same. He takes on Komiasana, who's a sneaky good player. I'm picking the Argentinian Komiasana to come through this.
Okay, I see where you're getting that from. I think
Yeah,
Comesaña has also been having a confidence boost in his last couple of tournaments.
yeah.
Yeah, I
He
feel.
beat Zverev earlier this year, by the way, in the Golden Swing in February.
Yeah, that was what I was going to talk about. Yeah,
Yeah,
I see Comesaña putting up a fight, but I also feel like Carreño Busta has been in these close matches, been in these top tier clay players. I feel like he can keep up with them, especially now since he's a couple of years off of his injury. I see him winning this in four.
okay. That's interesting, yeah. I think Komiasana wins in four, but we'll see.
We will see.
All right, now the guy who Tiafoe lost to in the final of Houston, Jensen Brooksby. He's a
Yeah,
very awkward player if you watched him play, but
yeah,
he's very effective. I think he's gonna beat the player from Portugal, Faria. I'm picking Brooksby.
yeah. I see Brooksby winning this as well. I think his confidence level on clay is going to be high. I feel
Yeah.
like he's going to come in Roland Garros with sort of little bit of confidence in his gameplay. I think he'll win this in straights most likely.
Okay. All right, and then man, this section is just full of Americans. Seb
Yeah.
Korda, the 23 seed, takes on Darderi from Italy, and Darderi's a very good player on the clay, but I think Korda will just have a little bit too much and outclass the Italian player.
Yeah, I think Korda's level has improved from last year. I feel like he's slowly starting to get better, specifically on different surfaces compared to hard court.
Yeah.
I feel like Korda's gonna win this in four. I don't see him winning it in three because Darderi's level is still near his. I think he'll win in four though.
All right. And we have another American now, the last seed to get through because Berrettini pulled out of this event. Mickelson takes on not Francisco Cerundolo, but his younger brother Juan Manuel Cerundolo, and his younger brother has qualified through. But I don't know. I just haven't seen much of him. I like Mickelson to get through, even though I'm not too confident in Mickelson on the clay either.
Yeah, is Juan not a lefty or is that
Yeah, he's a lefty.
Francisco?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. He's a
yeah.
lefty.
I think Mickelson is going to destroy him in this matchup. To be honest, Mickelson's
Okay.
backhand is stronger than his forehand.
Yeah, Mickelson very solid backhand.
Yeah, very solid backhand. I see him winning this in straights. Not really a competition.
All right. Matrzak versus Medjedovic. Now, Medjedovic is a younger player from Serbia, and we've heard him talk about how Novak Djokovic has helped him out for some of his expenses. I'm going to take Medjedovic, but I don't really know about this one.
Yeah, I'm taking Medjedovic too, simply due to the Novak help. I feel like he'll kind of feel called out in a way. I've never seen Mashazak. Is that how you say his last name?
Matrzak, I believe.
Mashazak. I've never
Or
seen much of
it might be
Mashazak.
my check. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know how to say that. I'm not gonna butcher it anymore.
Yeah.
But, but I see Medjedovic winning this in probably four.
All right. Montero from Brazil is a very good lefty. He takes on Vit Capriva from Czechia. I'm going to take Montero because Montero has a huge forehand.
Yeah, I have Montero winning this as well. I feel like lefties, specifically on clay, that have decent to good fitness, specifically the Southern Americans.
Yeah.
I feel like Montero is paired well for this matchup. I feel like he'll win this in four.
Okay. All right. Now, this is interesting. We have a match with Daniel Altmaier taking on the 4 seed Taylor Fritz to
Very
round out
interesting.
this All American section. Now, let's just talk a little bit about Daniel Altmaier because he did beat Felix Auger-Aliassime earlier this year, but in 2023 he took out Yannick Sinner in 5 sets, and I know it wasn't the Sinner that we know today, but it still was a top 10 Sinner. And I don't know, on the clay, Altmaier could win this chase. What do you think?
I think we saw flashes of Altmaier and Monte Carlo against Alcaraz as
Yeah,
well.
they had that one ridiculous
Yeah,
point.
Altmaier had flashes of greatness. However, I feel like Fritz is going to keep on pounding his one-hander that whole match. Specifically with Fritz's serve and his forehand, I feel like he'll have a decent matchup. I feel like Fritz is going to win in four, honestly.
Yeah, so you think Fritz is going to pound that one-hander of Altmaier, but I think on the clay, Altmaier is going to have just some more time off that wing to maybe offset Taylor.
Do you feel
I
like it'll
don't
be
know.
a
I'm
sort
going
of
with the
effect?
upset here. I think Altmaier is going to win.
Okay, yeah, I like your prediction. It's kind of the Sitsipas effect, how his backhand gets heightened on the level his backhand level gets
Yeah.
heightened on the level of clay. Yeah, I get where you're coming from with this.
All right.
That's a good prediction.
All right, now Ramos Vignolas is retiring this year. He's the qualifier from Spain. He takes on Casper Ruud.
Versus the
Chase, I
Brood.
don't think much we need to talk about here. Ruud's gonna win, isn't he?
Yeah, we don't really need to talk about this one. I
Yeah.
think Ruud's gonna win this in straights.
All right. And then we've got another French qualifier here is Jacquet taking on Nuno Borges. And we know Borges can be very good, so I'm picking Borges. I'm assuming you're doing the same, Chase.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Borges has elevated his level in a couple of matches that I've seen him play this year. I feel like he'll win in straights as well.
Yeah, okay. All right, Tabilo Cazot. Cazot is a wild card here from France. He did make a run at the Australian Open last year. He took out Holger Rune. Tabilo, he's been injured recently, but we know he beat Djokovic in Monte Carlo. I know
Yeah.
Djokovic wasn't really motivated in that match, but I'm gonna pick Tabilo to win this.
Yeah,
Probably four sets.
I have Tabilo winning this in four as well. I've never seen much of Sazo, but I feel like Tabilo, especially on clay, I feel like he'll have a much better chance than he does in most slams that he's played in. So I see him winning this in four.
Yeah, totally. All right, and then Popperin over Nishioka, right?
Yeah,
Are you thinking the same? All right, I don't think we need
yeah,
to
this is
really
kind
go
of
into
obvious.
that. Yeah.
Yeah,
All right, Hachinov Vukic. I'm gonna pick Hachinov.
yeah. I'm picking Hachinov due to his level against Alcaraz on clay, specifically in
Yeah,
Rome
that
that we
was a
just
very
saw.
high level that Hachinov played against. He had Alcaraz on the ropes in Rome.
Yeah, I feel like Hachinov can tap into that level again and make a semi-decent run at Roland Garros, which is why I have him winning this in straights as well against Vukic.
Okay, we have Sebastian Offner taking on Jan Lennard Struff. Struff has been in really bad form. Excuse me. Offner, he's been injured, but he just made the semifinals in Geneva. He lost to Hubert Hurkacz. I like Offner here.
I like Struve here simply because of the fact
Okay.
that I've seen his ceiling be higher than Offner's.
Yep.
Even though he is coming off of injury, even though he's coming off of a bad couple of matches, I feel like his confidence is gonna be higher due to it being a Grand Slam. I feel like he'll come in with more, thinking that he has more points to deserve, which is why I have him winning in 4 or 5 against Offner.
All right. I'm gonna pick Fucsovics over Schoolkate. Now, interestingly, well, we should mention this because Schoolkate did win a set against Sinner at the Australian Open earlier this
Yeah,
year, but that was in Australia, and he had the crowd going for him, and that was Sinner was definitely off that day. He's a wild card here. Fucsovics should probably win this in straights.
yeah, Fucsovic is winning this in straights. There's no doubt about it.
All right, and then we don't really need to go over this one. Tommy Paul's gonna beat the lucky loser Elmer Mahler.
Yeah,
Yeah.
unfortunately, yeah.
All right, now this is a very big match here. This
This
is
is a
a
good
rematch
match.
of the Australian Open
Australian
quarterfinals.
Yeah.
Shelton Sonego. Now Sonego actually beat Shelton here a couple of years ago, and Shelton Chase. We talk about it. Shelton is just too erratic sometimes.
Yeah.
And
I
Sonego is
honestly,
a very passionate player, and I know Sonego can be a little bit inconsistent as well. I like Sonego here though against Shelton. I'm picking the Italian.
I know Sonego likes to get loud. He brings a lot of energy to the court. Same with Shelton. I feel like Shelton's gonna get experimental with his serve like he did versus Zverev
Yeah,
when he played him in what was it? Was it Munich?
yeah, Munich.
Yeah.
Munich
I mean,
finals.
I feel like he'll get experimental in the serve and volley aspects as well. I feel like Shelton's gonna try to put pressure onto Sonego, which is why I have him winning this in four. I feel like Sonego's level has been dwindling slightly this year compared to what he
Yeah,
was
since
earlier
the
this year.
Australian Open quarterfinal, he hasn't done much.
Yeah, since Australia, he hasn't been doing that much, which is why I have him losing in four.
Okay, I'm gonna pick Gaston to beat his fellow French qualifier Hugo Blanchet. I have Gaston.
Yeah, this isn't that much of a that
Yeah,
much of
yeah.
a competition. I feel
All
like
right.
Gaston's gonna win this.
Yeah, but this next one's interesting. We got a couple qualifiers going at it. Hassan Giganti. I watched a little bit of Giganti at Indian Wells earlier this year take on Taylor Fritz, and he was pretty impressive. So based on that, I'm picking the Italian qualifier.
I have the Italian qualifier too.
Yeah.
I've seen him in a couple of draws as well. I've seen him put up some fights, so I have Gigante winning this as well, and probably four.
All right. Interesting position here for Steph Tsitsipas. We've never really seen him ranked this low. He's the 20th seed here.
Yeah,
And it's not an easy first matchup for him. Tomas Martin Echeverri, we know
Echeverri,
how
yeah,
good he can be on the clay. He just made the semis this week in Hamburg. It's a tough matchup for him. But
yeah,
Tsitsipas on the clay, he is a little bit bolstered. I know he's had some tough losses this year, but that's due to his ranking falling. And
yeah.
I know he lost to Artur Fils in Rome. I like Tsitsipas here against Echeverri.
Yeah, I have
It should be
Tsitsipas
four
winning
sets
as
though.
well.
Sorry. It should be four.
Yeah, you're good. You're good. I see it going to four as well. I feel like it'll take Tsitsipas a little bit to get to that level that he was used to. However, I do feel like he'll get it back in time for Roland Garros, which is why I have him winning this in four as well.
All right, next up we got the big serving 6'8" Frenchman, the 31st seed here, Giovanni Mpesci Pericard, and he takes on Zizou Bergs. And I don't know, I like the Frenchman here.
Yeah, I like the Frenchman here too. I feel like Pericard can play the crowd, and I also feel like everybody knows his serve. Everybody knows his
Yeah,
serve is
first
one of
and
the
second
strongest
serve
on
are
tour.
insane.
Yeah, I feel like Clay won't be able to hold his serve back. I feel like he'll still be able to be a rocket on Clay, which is why I have him winning this match in probably three. I don't see him dropping a set.
All right, Tiago Agustin Tirante, lucky loser against Demir Jumher.
Okay,
Chase, we watched Jumher play Tiafo at Indian Wells, and he was very impressive. I'm gonna pick Jumher here.
yeah, I have Zoomer for two reasons. One of them you're gonna find
Okay.
really funny. I have Zoomer winning simply due to the fact that we saw him play Tiafo as well. His
Yeah.
level was there, and I also saw the outfit he's wearing, and it looks incredible, dude. It's like a combination of like orange, blue, and like yellow. It looks so sick. I have Zoomer winning simply because of the outfit and the level that he played against Tiafo.
All right. Well, I hope he wins and then takes on Pericard so I can actually see him in that outfit.
Yeah, it looks
Yeah.
really sick.
All
Yeah.
right. All right. Marijan versus Nardi. We saw Marijan take up Fonseca and Rublev back to back in Rome. What a couple impressive wins that was for
Yeah.
the Hungarian. I like Marjan here over Nardi.
I like Marajan here too. His confidence is going to be blowing up. I see him winning this in straights as well against Nardi.
Yeah. Okay. And then Alcaraz over the qualifiers at Pieri, and we can move on to
Yes.
the second round.
Yeah, that's gonna. That's,
I'm
that's gonna be
sorry,
bad. Yeah.
Julio.
Yeah.
All right, moving on now to the second round. Richard Gasquet. This is going to be his final match, isn't it, against Yannick Sinner?
Unfortunately, yes. I don't see Gasquet winning this at all. To be honest with you, I see Sinner winning this in straights. Probably 2-3-2.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
let's just say what a career Gasquet has had. Like
Yeah.
insane career. He was touted to be one of the Grand Slam champions in France, but he had to live through the Big Three era. You kind of have to feel sorry for him, but then again, you just have to applaud him for the type of career that he ended up having.
Yeah, I think he's had one very very well career, and I think he's also has one of the best one-handed backhands ever, in my opinion.
Yeah,
Yeah, I feel
love
like
watching
he's
that
had a good
one-hander.
career. He has a lot to be happy for. I think he'll go out. I think he'll go out happy. I don't
Yeah,
think
and
he'll
he
be
will get
upset.
a really good reception.
Oh yeah, for sure.
All right, let's move on to this match. This is a big
This is
match
very
in the
good.
second round. Lehechka versus Davidovich Fekina.
Yeah. Honestly, I have Fakina beating Lechka simply due,
Okay.
like I said before, Lechka is going to have a lot of fire, but I also feel like Fakina is going to grind him down, especially with Fakina's physicality. I don't see Lechka being able to keep up with that level for how long Fakina can drag him out. I see Fakina winning in four or five.
Yeah, this is going to be a grind fest on the clay. I think we're going to get 5 sets, but I'm just going to agree with you, Chase. I think Davidovich Fekina is just going to be able just to get the win against Lehechka.
100%, yeah.
All right, and then do we both have Rublev over Martyr?
Yeah, it's kind of obvious, yeah.
That's kind of obvious. All right. All right, now, this is a tough match for Feast. Munar, we talked about him earlier. He's been very good on the clay. But Feast, I think, will get through. He's just going to have an insane amount of support here.
Yeah, I have Feast destroying Munar with the crowd, specifically because I've seen Munar get upset multiple times playing. I feel like Feast is going to try to get into his head with
Yeah.
with the French crowd, especially. I feel like Feast can win this in four.
Yeah, you're right. Munar can be a very moody player.
Yeah.
All right. Now we got the trickster, Alexander Bublik, taking on Alex Demonor. I could see this being a beatdown, honestly, from the team, and I have Demon.
Yeah, I have Demonor killing Bublik in straight, so there won't be a competition.
All right. So I think we're going to defer here, right? Because you picked Mensik against Mueller?
Yeah, I picked Mensik against Muller.
Okay,
yeah.
so you have Basilashvili Mensik, correct?
Yeah,
And I have
Mensik winning.
Basilashvili playing Mueller. I'm picking Mueller.
Okay, that's
All right,
fair.
who are you
okay.
going with?
I'm going with Mensik, obviously. I don't
Mensik,
think
okay.
Basilesh really
Yeah,
stands
yeah.
a chance against Mensik. Yeah.
All right. Fonseca versus Bonzi. I'm picking Fonseca.
Yeah, I'm picking Fonseca as well. He's gonna have, if he beats Hurkacz in the first round, he's gonna have crazy fire, and he's gonna have crazy fire
Yeah,
going into
and
this match.
he'll be very confident.
Yeah.
All right, now this is going to be a fun match if we do get it. Gael Monfils, at 38 years of age, will take on Jack Draper. What a match this is going to be.
Yeah, unfortunately, in my opinion, with the level Jack's been playing, I see him beating Monfils in straights unless Monfils plays the crowd. I don't know. What are your thoughts on this match though?
Yeah, I'm going to agree with you. Yeah, I think Draper, he's going to have a little bit too much firepower for Monfils. I could see him just hitting through Monfils in straight sets, even though
Yeah,
Monfils is tough to hit through.
Monfils is one of the fastest movers, but I still
Yeah.
have Draper in three. Yeah.
All right. All right, and then Zverev plays De Jong. We know Zverev has been a little prone to upsets recently, but he should be bolstered here in the best of five. I like him to get
Yeah.
through De Jong.
Yeah, I see Zverev destroying De Jong as well.
All right. Okay, so I think we're going to defer here again. I have an all Italian affair between Caboli and Arnaldi, and I think you have Caboli and Felix.
Yeah, I have Caboli and Felix. In my bracket, I see Caboli winning this simply due to, like I said, his level on clay has been great. Saw him play Baez in the final. I feel like his movement specifically is what's going to allow him to be Aliassime. I feel like Aliassime can't move that well on clay, which is why I have Caboli winning in 4 or 3.
Yeah, okay. I have Caboli winning in four as well.
Yeah.
All right, now this is
This
we
is
have
good.
Fran Cerundolo, the 18C, taking on Giron. I have him take. Oh wait, hold on. I must have made an accident picking it. I picked Greek Spore. It should be Cerundolo, Greek Spore, and I'm picking Cerundolo.
You're good. Yeah. I have Cerundolo as well. Cerundolo's level, as we know, has been crazy on clay this year. I see Cerundolo in straights. I don't think it'll be that much of a
Yeah.
hard matchup for him.
All right, and then Dimitrov, Livich. I have Dimitrov.
I have Dimitrov as well. Not much to say there.
Yeah, not much to say. Medvedev, Kovacevic. I don't think there's much to say there as well.
There
Medvedev
isn't
should
much to
win
say
that.
there either. Yeah, Medvedev should have this.
All right, I have Fernley Humbert. I think you have Wawrinka Humbert.
Yeah, I have Wawrinka Umber. I see Umber winning this. Unfortunately, I do believe this will probably be Stan's last match at Roland Garros if he does win the first round,
Yeah,
which is sad for me because I'm a huge fan of his. But yeah,
yeah,
I see Umber pounding Stan, attempting to pound Stan's backhand the whole match. I feel like Stan doesn't have that firepower in his backhand like he used to when he was younger, which is why I feel like he'll get killed on that side from Umber simply because of how flat Umber plays and how much he can hit through the clay. So I see Umber winning this in 4.
All right. I'm going with a bit of an upset here. I'm going with Fernley to take out Humbert. Fernley was close to beating Fonseca in Indian Wells, and Fernley he's a college level player. He's been sneaky good this year. He's been winning matches. It's not like he's been struggling. He
Yeah.
came off playing college and he's winning matches now. I like Fernley to beat Humbert.
For sure, yeah. I could see that happening. I could see the upset happening.
All right, I have Martinez taking on Misolic, and I'm going with Martinez.
Yeah, I'm going with Martinez as well. Spanish player, strong river on clay, most likely.
Yeah.
I see Martinez winning this. Yeah.
All right, now Djokovic takes on Mute, and we know Mute is gonna get the crowd involved, and he's gonna do all his tricks and everything. He's gonna try to offset Djokovic's rhythm, but ultimately,
Yeah.
look, Djokovic is looking good in Geneva this week. I like him to come through. Maybe
Yeah.
Mute gets a set, but Djokovic.
Maybe I don't. Yeah, I genuinely don't see Novak losing this. I see him winning in straights as well. Mute just can't play to his level.
All right, Musetti takes on Carballes Baena, and I don't think there's much to say on this. Musetti
Yeah,
comes through.
Mussetti's level has been crazy on clay this year. I see him winning this in straights as well.
All right, I think you have Opelka versus Navone.
Yeah, I have Opelka versus Navone. I
All
have
right.
Navone beating Opelka
Yeah.
simply due to his clay returns. His clay return is insane. It's one of the best I've ever seen. I see him beating Opelka in probably 4 or 5.
All right, I have an All-American battle here, Opelka Nakashima, and I'm gonna take Nakashima because Nakashima he's been very solid this year, and Opelka he's still on the comeback. Technically, he's still on his comeback. I like Nakashima to come through against Opelka.
That's fair. It's a good take.
All right, and then I'm gonna go with Alice over Kecmanovic. I think that's gonna be a 5-set match, and I think the crowd is gonna get the Frenchman through.
For me, I have Elias versus Baez. I see
Uh-huh.
Baez winning this due to
Okay.
his clay prowess. I feel like the European clay won't disrupt him as much as it used to, which is why I have him winning
Mhm.
this in probably four.
Okay, and then all right, here we go. So we have the guy who just loves to upset people, Botic von
Yeah,
de Zanschkop,
versus Holger Rune.
against Holger Rune. Is he gonna upset Holger Rune like he
Well,
did to Carlos Alcaraz at the U.S. Open?
we have seen Holger Rune make a comeback against Zandschulp. You remember that match, right?
Yes, they played a final in Munich, and Van de Zanschkop was up 5-2 in the third set. He had multiple championship points to win his first title, by the
And
way.
he lost.
And Rune comes back and wins in a tiebreak. And Rune, by the way, is struggling with some type of injury too.
Yeah, that is
Insane comeback,
insane.
and that kind of led to Bodik's downfall until he eventually came back through the Challenger Tour, took out Alcaraz, took out everyone else, as we mentioned earlier.
Yeah, I also see that getting in Zandschulp's head. I feel like Zandschulp's confidence against Rune is going to be semi-low due to the comeback he
Yeah,
allowed.
he might be thinking about that match in Munich.
Yeah, I feel like Rune's going to win this in four.
All right, I have the same. Okay, you have T. Okay, I think we completely differ here. You have Tiafoe Carreño Busta.
I have Tiafoe Carreño Busta as well.
Okay, I have Safiullin versus Komiasanya. You want to go first?
Yeah, yeah. So I have Carreño Busta beating Tiafoe in probably straights due to Carreño Busta's ability to move on clay. I
Yeah.
feel like Tiafoe won't be able to keep up with him, especially with his movement. I feel like Carreño Busta just has him ousted in that, especially on tournaments like this where you can go 5 sets. I feel like Carreño Busta is definitely going to get in Tiafoe's head when it comes to long rallies. I feel like he'll beat Tiafoe, which is why I have him winning in 3 or 4.
All right, I'm picking Komiasana to beat Safiullin because we just mentioned it earlier. Komiasana, we mentioned that he beat Zverev. Yeah, he beat Zverev in the Golden Swing. We
Hmm.
also forgot to mention he
Yeah.
beat Fils in Madrid, and he
Yeah,
pushed Rune to 3 sets in Rome.
I wanted to talk about that. I didn't talk about those though.
Yeah,
But yeah, he's been having a crazy clay season for his
yeah,
level.
good season for him. All right, do we both have Brooksby versus Korda?
I believe so. Let me check. Yeah, we both have Brooksby versus Korda. I have Brooksby. I
Okay.
feel like Korda has been elevating his level this year, like I said before, but I still have Brooksby beating him due to his ability to to he was the one that beat Tiafo, right? Or am I compare?
Yeah,
Am I com-
Brooksby beat Tiafoe in the
Okay, yeah,
final of Houston.
yeah. He was the one that beat Tiafo in the final in Houston. I feel like Brooksby's confidence is going to be teaming from that as well, which is why I have him beating Korda in 4 or 5.
All right, I'm gonna go different here. I'm picking Korda to take out Brooksby. Look, Houston was a great win for Brooksby, but I've heard a lot of the players talk about Houston, especially the guys that have won it, and they've mentioned how the clay
Yeah.
in Houston is just totally different from the clay that we have in Europe. And Korda has played a full European clay court season. I know he hasn't had a big run or anything, but I like Korda to come through against Brooksby. And I want to say 4 sets. Actually, no, I'm going to go 5 sets.
You have Korda winning in 5.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Okay.
All right. Mickelson versus Medjedovic. That's what I have, and I'm picking Mickelson.
I'm picking Mickelson as well. I feel like he'd be able to beat Medjedovic in probably 4, just due to
Hmm.
simply his level on clay not being that much higher compared to Medjedovic on clay. But I still see Mickelson winning this match.
All right. I have Montero taking on Altmaier. I think you have Fritz instead of Altmaier.
Yeah,
I'm gonna.
I have Fritz and Montero. I'll go first. Yeah,
Okay, you
I
go
see.
first. Okay.
Yeah, I see Fritz beating Montero simply due to his backhand level also being very high this year. Even though he's been having a bad year, I still see his backhand being consistent against.
All right. I'm picking Altmaier against Montero. I think if he beats Fritz, he's gonna be insanely confident, and I think he'll ride that through to the third round. Alright, everybody, this is just a quick expert that I'm filming in because we forgot to mention during the first episode that we are only posting audio podcasts for the moment because of some technical issues. But once we have those technical issues sorted out, we will have full video episodes posted. But for the foreseeable future, it will just be audio. And without further ado, let's get back to the first episode. All right, next up we have Rude
Powered by
versus
Riverside
Borges, and I
FM.
think we both are in agreement that Rude will win.
Yeah, rude and straights, not even a debate.
All right, yeah. Popper and Tabilo, it's a bit of an interesting one, but I don't know. I like the Aussie here.
Yeah, I like the Aussie here as well. I think his level is higher than Tabilo in general. I think he's gonna win in four.
All right, now this is one where we defer. You have Hachinov taking. Who do you have Hachinov taking on?
Mm. I have Hachinov versus Struff. I see Hachinov winning against Struff in four. His ceiling is much higher. I
Yeah.
don't see him having that much of a problem at all.
All right, I have Hachinov playing Offner, and Offner beat him in Geneva last week. So purely based off that, I know Hachinov in these slams is very, very good, but I'm gonna pick Seb Offner.
Okay.
All right, now we have Fuciovics taking on Tommy Paul. Fuciovics is like the Iron Man of tennis. He's super fit, but Tommy Paul's fit as well, and Tommy Paul obviously made the semis in Rome. Won the first at 6-1 against Sinner.
Yeah, that was insane.
Yeah,
Yeah.
really was. So Tommy Paul is going to beat Fuciovics for
Yeah.
me.
I have Paul, one of the best movers on tour. I see him slapping forehands the whole match against Vucevic. I see him winning in straights.
All right. You have Shelton Gaston. I have Senego Gaston. I'm gonna.
Okay.
All right, I'll go first here.
Yeah.
I'm gonna pick Gaston against Senego. Gaston in France is like insane. Like he hits drop shots all over the place. Like he is bolstered when he plays in France.
Yeah. So I have Gaston versus Shelton.
Uh huh.
Both lefties, no?
Yeah,
Gaston's a lefty as
they're two
well.
lefties,
Yeah. I
but
have Gaston.
their height difference is crazy. Shelton's 6'4" and Gaston is like 5'8".
Yeah. Yeah. For that reason, I also have Shelton kind of putting up on a show against Gaston. I have
Yeah.
Gaston playing the crowd a little, which is why I think he'll at least get one set on Shelton. But I also have Shelton winning in four, I
And
believe.
one factoid for you is that Shelton and Gaston actually played last year at the French, and Shelton beat him in 4.
Seriously?
Yeah. So that'll be an interesting rematch. All right, I have Matteo Giganti taking on Steph Tsitsipas, and I don't think there's much to really talk about
Yeah,
here.
there's not much to talk
Tsitsipas
about
should
there.
win.
Yeah, Tsitsipas ups his level on clay. I see him winning this as well.
All right, the big serving Frenchman, Pericard, up against Jumher, and I have the Frenchman.
Yeah, I have the Frenchman pounding serves this whole match against Schumer. I see him winning in three or four.
All right, now this might be Alcaraz's toughest match until
So
he gets to
far.
the quarterfinals. Fabian Marozsan took out Alcaraz a couple years ago
You
in
know?
Rome. The dude was ranked like outside the top 100, and he just comes in, out drop shots Alcaraz, and
That's
gets
wild.
through against him. Look, this is going to be tough for Alcaraz because we mentioned Marozsan beat Rublev and
Yeah,
Fonseca back to back in Rome. But again, Alcaraz won Rome. It's best of 5. This is going to be tough for Alcaraz, but I think he's going to get through in a tight 4-setter.
yeah. I think Alcaraz has so much of a clutch factor that I don't think Marjan beating all these other players and everything else will really get to his head. I think Alcaraz's mental is very, very sharp. I think that he won't have that much of a problem versus Marjan. I think I haven't beating him in straights, very close straights, but I haven't beating him in straights.
Perfect. And with that, we will move on to the third
Round of
round.
32.
Yeah. All right, we're getting closer to the finish line. And we got the world number 1, Yannick Sinner, taking on Davidovich Fokina. Do you have the same?
Yeah, I have Sinner beating Fakina in
All right.
four.
Look,
Probably.
this isn't going to be easy for Sinner. In no way
Mhm.
will it be easy for Sinner. We know how good Davidovich Fokina has been this year. It will be his toughest test in this tournament. But Sinner, I believe, will come through.
Oh yeah, I see Sinner winning this in three or four.
Oh,
I think
really?
I think he'll drop maybe one set against Fakina, maybe first, just due to like simply Sinner trying to get back into it. But I feel like if Sinner plays a level that he did in Rome, he'll beat Fakina in three.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
can see that happening. Yeah,
All right. Now, this is a huge match
this
we
is
have
huge.
here.
Yeah, this is crazy.
Rublev takes on Feast in the third round. If we get this match, I mean, what is
Dude.
the atmosphere going to be like
Yeah, the
if this
atmosphere.
match happens?
You know, Feast is gonna get very loud. I also feel like Rublev's mental isn't quite like as strong as it was
Yeah, and
as it was.
it could very well capitulate here for him
Oh
because
yeah,
his mental, especially in a place like this where no one in the crowd is going to want him to win.
yeah,
Yeah, it's not going to be good for him. First,
yeah.
I'll tell you a story. Rublev took on Francis Tiafoe at the U.S. Open a few years ago in the quarterfinals, and the crowd was so hostile, and it was just pro Tiafoe, right?
Yeah.
But Rublev was almost in tears at one of the changeovers because he just couldn't take it from the crowd.
Mm. That's
So
another aspect that I think Feast might not be able to out hit Rublev, but Feast can, if he can get into his head, he's winning that match. Like it's not a debate. If Feast can get into Rublev's head, he's winning this match, and I feel like he can win it in four. Honestly,
yeah,
yeah,
all right.
I could see Feast
I'm gonna
winning
go
this in
with
four.
Feast in five. But I mean, oh my
Okay,
goodness, imagine them going forehand to forehand.
dude, that that would be wild, man.
All right, I have Demonar taking on Mueller next.
I
I
have
like.
Demonor and Mensick.
Okay, I'll go first here. I like Demonor against Mueller because Mueller, he's a very consistent player. That's what I've seen from him. He will be in France. Demonor will not care one single bit that no one in the stadium wants him to win. The Demon
Yeah.
is a fighter. He will fight his way through to the fourth round against the Frenchman.
Yeah, for me, I have Mensick and Damonor. I
Hmm.
believe Damonor is fast enough to be able to counter Mensick's serve to a point. I feel like he'll, especially with the clay numbing Mensick's serve, I think Damonor is going to be able to steal a lot of games off of him.
Hmm.
I also feel like Damonor's movement compared to Mensick's movement is much better.
Yeah,
Damonor clears the court much
100%.
faster. I see Damonor winning in four, most likely.
Okay. All right. What a match this will be if we get it, man. I'm looking
Dude.
here. Fonseca versus Draper. Now, Chase and I, we were talking about this match before it was supposed to happen in
Yeah,
Indian Wells because they played at Indian Wells,
the
and it was a
one match we
beatdown.
didn't
It was
see.
a beatdown from the break. It was 6-4, 6 love for
Yeah.
Draper to win that, and we were both kind of shocked because we actually both picked Fonseca to win that match before, and
Yeah.
obviously Draper went on to win in Indian Wells. So this is going to be interesting. Fonseca, I don't know, like he can get erratic at times, and we know how solid Draper has been this year. So even though it's on the clay, I like Draper to win this, but probably in four, maybe five.
I like Draper's chances as well. I see him winning in three due to the
Okay.
pressure. I think getting to Fonseca's head, especially from their last match too, since Fonseca hasn't been in a crazy big tournament since BNP. His only memories of Draper are playing him at the BNP, and we both know Draper spanked him at the BNP's 3-0. I mean,
Yeah.
with Draper's confidence level against Fonseca being that high, and him having the success he's had on clay at Madrid, I do believe he can beat Fonseca in straights again.
Okay. All right. I think we have. Do we both have Zverev Kaboli?
Yeah, we both deserve Kabuli.
Okay, so this will by far be Zverev's toughest test because
Yeah.
we've talked about how good Kaboli's been recently.
Mm-hmm.
Look again, when I come to some of these big contenders and I talk about their experience in best of five, I always just go to that. And I think this could be a 4 or 5 setter for Zverev, but I think ultimately he'll come through with his experience.
Okay, so this is where I like this is like where I like
Oh,
the conflict of interest.
are we getting an upset here?
Yeah, we're giving an upset. I see
Oh my
Cavoli beating
goodness.
Zverev simply due to Cavoli's confidence on the clay, especially like these past couple months. Like I've said before, Cavoli's movement I think outmaneuvers Zverev's movement. I think Cavoli will also have the sort of a fear factor against Zverev due to just Zverev's mental weakness. We've seen it before. I mean,
Yep.
these later rounds, specifically a round of 32 or quarterfinals, round four, as Zverev starts to kind of get in choking area. I can see Zverev choking this away and losing in four or five. Honestly,
Wow, everybody chase going with the first big upset of the tournament.
I see Cavoli
Kaboli to
going
take out
relatively
Zverev.
far. Hmm.
That is insane. All right. Now, we have another big match here if we
Yeah,
get
this
it.
is huge.
Cerundolo versus Dimitrov. Look, Dimitrov, he's kind of had an up and down year. He made the
Yeah,
semifinals in Miami. He then went to Monte Carlo and got double bageled by Demonar. I have no idea what was going on with him in that
yeah. I
match.
I don't know either. I mean,
Look, Franz Cerundolo has been in outstanding form this year. I like him to get through in maybe 4 sets against Grigor.
yeah. I have him. I honestly have Cerundolo beating Grigor in three due to his level on clay this year, and our only level of clay from Dimitrov has been getting bageled twice by Deminor. I think Cerundolo is going to beat Grigor in three. In three, I feel like it will not be close.
All right. So we're kind of seeing similar there.
Yeah.
All right. I think you have Medvedev Umber. I have Medvedev versus Fernley, and I think Fernley getting to this round of a major will be big for him. Medvedev is gonna have too much experience for him, so I have Medvedev. Chase onto you, Medvedev Umber.
Yeah, I feel like Umber can't mess with Medvedev's backhand as much as he could with an older Wawrinka, which is why I believe Medvedev is probably going to be Umber in four. I believe Medvedev's been in
Hmm.
these quarterfinals, this round of 32 quarterfinals multiple times. I feel like he's been in these sort of situations before. I feel like he will not be scared to play Umber. I honestly, even with the crowd against Medvedev, I have him winning in four or three.
Okay, Djokovic over Martinez. Not much to go over there.
Yeah, not much to go over
Yeah.
there.
All right. Okay. I have Musetti versus Nakashima here next. Now they just played in Rome, and Musetti won pretty comfortably there. I don't think there's much to say here. Musetti is just a better player than Nakashima, especially on
Yeah.
the clay. I'm going Musetti.
Yeah, I have Musetti and Opelka. I also have Musetti beating Opelka. I feel like if Musetti plays to push against Opelka, I think Opelka is going to miss in general. I feel like Musetti's too consistent for him. And on clay, I don't feel like Opelka is at that level. He can serve bot his way to higher round of 16 quarterfinals. I don't think he can do it, honestly, which is why I have Musetti winning in probably four.
All right. Good breakdown of that, especially if that happens. I have Alice, the Frenchman, taking on Runa next. I think you have Bias Runa?
Yeah, I have Baez Bruna.
All right. I'm going to go with Runa over Alice. Look, this would be a very good run for Alice if he were to get here. But Runa, again, he just has more experience than a guy like Alice. Runa on the clay, he's just better than Alice.
Yeah. See, with me, Runa, and Baez, I feel like Baez will be able to put up a fight, but I also feel like he hasn't been in these this deep into slams where it's like round of 32, round of
Yeah,
16.
I can't remember. I can't remember if Baez has ever made the third round of the French before.
I don't
I
think he
know I know
has.
he pushed Zverev to 5 1 year. In 22, I believe he pushed Zverev to 5.
Yeah, I feel like Baez, the pressure is going to get to his head, which is why I see Runa has been in these points before. I think he's going to be ready for this, especially in slams. I can see Runa beating him in four. I don't think Runa is going to let the pressure get to him. I think he's confident in himself on clay with the Barcelona win. I have him winning in four.
All right, I think we're gonna differ here. I have Koma Sanya versus Korda. What do you have?
I have Carreño Busta versus Brooksby.
Okay, yeah, we are totally different here. I'm gonna
Yeah.
go Chase. I'm gonna go with the Argentinian. I'm gonna pick Koma Sanya against Korda because we mentioned Korda. He hasn't really had a big run here on the clay, and we talked about Koma Sanya this week. He's full of confidence. He pushed Runa
Yeah.
to 3 in Rome. He beat Feast. He beat Zverev. Koma Sanya, I like him here against Seb Korda.
Yeah. I honestly don't blame you. That's a good prediction, especially for Comesaña. He is a rocket, man. And then for me, I have Carreño Busta versus Brooksby. I have Brooksby getting away with this simply due to Carreño Busta's age not being able to function that far into slams like this. I
Yeah.
feel like Brooksby's much younger. I feel like Brooksby's gonna have more of an advantage when it comes to these longer drowned out sort of sets and rallies. I feel like Brooksby's probably gonna win in four or five.
All right. I have Mickelson taking on Altmaier next. What do you have?
Mickelson or Fritz.
Okay. Do you want to go first?
Yeah, I'll go first. Honestly, I have Fritz beating Mickelson simply due to Mickelson pressure getting to his head as well. I feel like he hasn't been in these situations. Fritz has been in slam finals. Fritz's forehand and backhand have been solid. However, I feel like his movement on clay is the one thing that will hinder him, which is why I think that Mickelson can get a set or two and maybe bring it to four or five.
All right. I have Mickelson Altmaier as I mentioned. Look, I mentioned it before. Altmaier, if he beats Fritz, he's gonna get on a run. He's gonna be confident. And Mickelson on the clay, look, we haven't seen much from him.
Yeah,
And Altmaier, we kind of know what we're gonna get from him on the surface.
yeah.
So Altmaier, go on to the fourth round then.
Okay, I like the prediction.
Yeah,
All
I,
right,
I I believe I foresee a random fourth round match I have incoming.
I could honestly happen in reality.
All right, yeah, I mean that full section that section that is just full of Americans. Anything could happen
Yeah,
in that.
honestly, yeah. And
All
now
right,
we
now
have
Chase, let's just touch on this Rude versus Popperin because Popperin did beat him in Monte Carlo, but he's not going to repeat, is he?
I don't see it. Rude's level from Madrid, even though he
Yeah,
lost
Madrid
Yannick in
onwards.
straight sets, I don't feel like that's going to deter his confidence that much. I feel like his clay level is still going to be there. I feel like he'll be
Yeah, and,
proper in
and
his
the Sinner
straights.
loss in Rome, it shouldn't deter his confidence too much.
It should
Too
not
much. I know
deter
it
it
was
at
a
all.
very bad loss, but
That is
yeah,
Sinner's best match I've ever seen him play.
yeah,
I think
yeah,
everybody's
me
ever
too.
seen him play. So in that case, I have Rude beating Popper in 3 or 4, most likely 3.
All right, I have Rude as well. I have Offner versus Tommy Paul. I'm going Tommy Paul. I don't think there's much to say there.
Yeah. Um, I honestly have Kachanov over Paul, to be honest with you, as well.
Oh wow,
Yeah.
Hatchinov over Paul.
Yeah, I have Kachanov over Paul simply because Kachanov has been in these situations. We've seen him make a couple deep runs, and
Yeah, look, Hatchinov is a different player at the majors. I'll give you that. But Paul
oh
did
yeah,
beat Hatchinov in Madrid.
Paul did beat Kachanov. And honestly, something just driving me to pick Kachanov, to be honest with you, man. I
Yeah,
see Kachanov winning in
there's
four or
just
five.
something inside telling you to pick
Yeah,
to
there's
rush.
something inside of me telling you to pick
Yeah.
Kachanov, yeah.
All right. I have Gaston playing Tsitsipas next. I think you have Shelton Tsitsipas.
I have Shelton Tsitsipas, yes.
Okay, I'll go first here. Gaston Tsitsipas. Gaston's gonna hit a million drop shots. He's gonna do his thing with the French crowd when he takes on Tsitsipas.
For
And
sure.
Tsitsipas is one of these guys. He can get rattled.
He
Like he
can get
can.
rattled. We've seen it, yeah.
Yeah, we've seen it before. Um, Look, Gaston's gonna do his best. He's gonna play his heart out. He's gonna do everything he possibly can to get the win. But I think Tsitsipas is just gonna be a little bit too good for him.
Yeah. Tsitsipas' level on clay is high. We've seen it before. We've seen him make a Roland Garros final. Um, to be honest, I see him beating. Who do I have him against Shelton, I believe. Yeah, I have him against Shelton. I see him beating Shelton in 3 or 4. I don't see Shelton putting that much damage to him on his backhand. I feel like Tsitsipas's backhand on clay elevates a little bit, so that's
True.
why I believe Tsitsipas can win in 3 or 4 against Shelton. I don't think Shelton's serve will be that much of a problem for him on clay specifically, which is why I see Shelton winning in 3 or 4, like I said before.
All right, and the final match now we have for this third round. Can the big serving 6'8" Frenchman Giovanni Mpeschi Pericard do anything to upset the form horse Carlos Alcaraz?
Nah, Alcaraz is
Ye-
just too strong on clay, man.
Yeah, on the clay. If it was a fast hard court, maybe, but not on the clay.
Dude, Alcaraz is just like this guy's movement is just too good, bro.
Yeah,
Pericard's serve isn't even
exactly.
gonna do anything. Like, yeah, no, I just have Alcaraz winning this in straights. I'm sorry.
All right, we are getting to the business end now. This tournament, round of 16.
Now it gets good.
Okay, Chase, I believe we have the same matchup here. What a match this is
Yannick
gonna
Sinner and
be
Feast, yeah,
for Sinner against Feast. Now he probably will. I believe his first two matches will be against Frenchmen, so he'll already know how the crowd will be.
yeah.
Sinner Feast. Oh my goodness, can Arthur Feast pull off the upset?
Honestly, the way Sinner's consistency in sets and when it comes to dropping sets comes, I feel like I think he's either going to beat Feast in 3, or Feast is going to put up a little bit of a fight and maybe bring it to 4. Even though Feast can play crowd, I feel like Yannick is too consistent to be deterred by Feast's energy and his like be able the ability to pound the ball because literally nobody on tour can outpound Sinner as of now. We
Yeah,
know that.
yeah.
So I feel like Sinner's not going to be that taken aback from Feast's ground game, which is why I feel like he'll be able to beat Feast in straights if he does. I will. If he does, I will not be that surprised.
All right, Feast in the crowd is gonna get a set in my opinion. But look, Sinner is just too solid, and we've seen him come through some of these tough draws before in majors, in Masters 1000s. It's gonna be a tough matchup for Yannick, no doubt about it. But Sinner, like you mentioned, his consistency in the sets he's been dropping and everything has just been outstanding. Even after the
Yeah.
comeback, it's like his level didn't drop off at all. And I
Yeah.
have Sinner winning in four.
His level never changed. It's always been the same.
All right. Now, this is another huge matchup if we
This
do
is
get it.
really
I
huge.
have
Yeah.
Demonar Draper. You have the same, correct?
Yeah.
Demonar Draper. Okay, this is interesting because Demonar against Draper. I'm going to quickly pull up the head to head in a second. You can give your thoughts on it because I know that Demonar has a pretty commanding head to head against Draper.
Yeah. So, um, yeah, I just pulled that up right now as well. Damon is 4-1 versus Draper. That is huge.
Yeah.
However, I feel like Draper's clay level, like I said at Madrid and everything else, I feel like he's elevated his level to the point where even fast movers like Damon Orr cannot keep up with the level of offense that Draper plays, specifically off of his forehand. I feel like his forehand is going to sort of demolish Damon Orr's backhand in a sense, but I feel like Damon Orr will be able to sort of push his way into the match like he usually used to on clay. I don't feel like he'll be able to play as much offense as he was able to versus say some other random players that he's been playing over these past couple of months, right? But I feel like Draper's offense is going to be too stifling for Damonor to keep up with, which is why I have Draper winning in most likely four.
Okay. All right. So Demonar Draper, this is really interesting because it's on clay. I don't think they've ever played on clay. But look, Demonar is one of these guys where when people underestimate him, he just comes out and he just says, "No, I'm going to prove you wrong."
Yeah.
And he's going to be up here against Draper. And most people are going to have Draper here as the favorite because
Yeah.
of what he's done so far this year. But don't underestimate the demon. And I'm not going to underestimate him here. I'm picking
You see
Alex
him winning?
Demonar to take out Jack Draper.
Wow. Okay.
I think it's going to be a 5-set war.
I think it'll be a war for sure. I think it'll
Yeah.
be close.
All
Yeah.
right. All right. So you have Zverev out now. I know that.
Yeah.
So you can go first.
Okay. I have Koboli versus Cerundolo.
Mm-hmm.
I believe Koboli's level will elevate for the win versus Zverev that I had before. But however, I don't think that it'll be enough to beat Cerundolo on clay, just due to the fact that we've seen Cerundolo on clay this year. He's been having a great year on clay. I genuinely do not see Koboli being able to beat Cerundolo simply due to Cerundolo's special ability on clay and his movement. I think his movement is better than Koboli's on clay, to be honest with you. I think Cerundolo is one of the best movers on clay that the tour has to offer. So
All right. I like that. Okay. So I have Zverev versus Cerundolo. Chase, I'm going to be joining you here and taking Zverev out of the tournament because Cerundolo is 3-0 against Zverev. He's taken him out twice already this year. He has one of the biggest forehands in tennis, and he hasn't a crazy drop shot, and I think that's the biggest threat that comes with Cerundolo. It's a bit like Alcaraz. Cerundolo has one of the biggest forehands in tennis, and you're constantly on the defense when he's on the offense, and you're expecting him to hit a big, big forehand, and all of a sudden he's going to put in a drop shot and change up the rhythm, and you're toast. Cerundolo is going to beat Zverev. Zverev hates playing Cerundolo. Cerundolo is going to win this, and it could be straight sets. I'll give Zverev a set because of his class, but Cerundolo to beat Zverev.
okay. So now we both have Zverev out.
Yes,
Okay.
and we both have Cerundolo through.
Cerundolo in, yeah. Okay.
All right, these are two good friends. Both of these guys represent Lacoste.
Yeah.
Medvedev takes on Djokovic. Look, Medvedev has been an issue for Djokovic in the past. Actually, Medvedev has beaten Djokovic before on clay. He did it in
Yeah.
2019 in Monte Carlo, believe
Yeah.
it or not. But Djokovic, he's rounding out into form actually in Geneva this week. He's going to play the final against Hurkacz tomorrow, as we've mentioned before. I like Djokovic here against Medvedev in maybe
Yeah.
4 sets.
Yeah, I like Djokovic against Medvedev in four as well. Djokovic plays similar to Medvedev's game, except much less
Yeah,
pushing.
very
I feel like,
similar games.
yeah, Djokovic can out rally Medvedev. I don't feel like Medvedev will put that much of a problem to him, which is why I have Djokovic winning in three or four as well.
Okay. All right, Chase, what a matchup this is. I think
Yeah.
we have the same thing, right?
Yeah, Lorenzo versus Runa.
Yeah, Musetti
Yeah,
versus Runa. My word, what a match this would be if
this
we
is a great
do get
match.
it.
Yeah,
It's gonna be a 5-setter. Look, as I'm
100%.
looking at this, we know Holger Rune can be very inconsistent,
Yeah,
and Musetti this clay court season, he is the only player this clay court season to have made the semis of all three Masters 1000s. He has been a consistent force this year on the clay. And right now I just trust Musetti a little bit more against Rune, so I'm picking Musetti.
yeah. Like we've talked about before, I feel like Runa struggles with a player identity and a hitting pattern that he can consistently go back to. I feel like Musetti
Totally.
has that and has that confidence in his shot selection to be able to switch it up against Runa, be able to play off his backhand a lot more specifically on clay. I feel like Runa won't be able to find um, that many weaknesses within Musetti's game. I feel like Musetti is going to feel confident going into this as well with his success in these last three Masters, which is why I feel like Musetti is going to win this in four most likely.
Yeah, you're definitely right about Rune kind of still struggling to find his identity as a player. We've talked about this in the
Yeah,
past, just me and you together, and how Rune doesn't know, like, am I a defensive player? Am I an
offensive
offensive player? I
player.
still don't know
Yeah,
yet, yeah.
yeah.
All right, I'm going to go next. I have this very random matchup if we do get in the fourth round between Francisco Comasagna and Daniel Altmaier. Like, this is a crazy matchup. Like, one of these guys might make the quarters if we get this matchup.
Dude.
I honestly,
Wow.
I'm struggling to make a prediction here. I don't know who's gonna win this match. I'm gonna go with Komasanya, but I have zero confidence whatsoever.
Oh my god, dude.
All
I
right.
have I have two Americans on my side. I have Brooksby and Fritz.
Okay.
I honestly I have Fritz winning this in probably three, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
And I see, yeah, Fritz is just better as an overall player than Brooksby. Maybe aside from the movement, I see Fritz winning this. It's not gonna be a challenge
I'll
for
let you know
Fritz.
that Brooksby has beaten Fritz before, but it was on hard.
Okay, yeah, that checks out.
All right. Look, this is a good matchup here. Rude versus Paul. These guys
Yeah,
have been in.
I
Yeah, yeah.
have Ruud and Hachinov. Yeah,
Oh, yeah, that's correct. Okay, okay.
yeah.
You can go first. Rude Hachinov.
Yeah, I think Ruud's going to counter Hachinov very well. I don't think Hachinov is going to prove that much of a challenge to Ruud on clay. I think Ruud's going to beat him in 3 or 4, honestly. There's not that much to say about it. I feel like Ruud's game counters Hachinov because Hachinov plays more flat than Ruud. I feel like Ruud will be able to put some spin on the ball and be able to just be able to keep on pushing Hachinov back, not let him into the court, keep him on defense whole match. I see Ruud winning that in 3 or 4 for sure.
Yeah, Rude and Paul actually played at the French Open in 2020, I believe, and they had a five setter. And it was both guys were totally different players then.
Yeah.
Now we have Rude who's top 10. He's now a Masters 1000 champion. Tommy Paul is on the verge of top 10 at number 12. Look, it's gonna be a good match if we get it. But on the clay, Casper Ruud, he's just a better dirt baller
Yeah.
than Tommy Paul. I mean,
Yeah.
that he's gonna be hitting a lot of forehand inside ins in this matchup because we know Paul's forehand is the weaker wing. So
Yeah.
I like Casper Ruud to win this in 4 sets.
Yeah. I can see that happening as well for sure.
All right, and then lastly, I believe we both have Tsitsipas and Alcaraz.
Yeah, I don't think that'll be that much of a problem for Carlos either. I see him winning in
Yeah,
three, to be
so
honest with you.
like the Tsitsipas Alcaraz paradox. Alcaraz is 6-0 against Tsitsipas.
Yeah, that.
Tsitsipas
Wow.
struggles mightily against Alcaraz. Like he doesn't know what to do, and it's just a terrible matchup. Alcaraz's kick serve on the outside into Tsitsipas's
His
backhand jumps
backhand is
so
just
high.
gonna.
Like Tsitsipas doesn't know what to do
Yeah,
with
it's
that.
gonna kill Sitsi. Yeah.
Yeah. All right, this is gonna be like Alcaraz and straights. It's like
Yeah.
1-3-4 or something like that.
Yeah, something like that. Something crazy. Yeah.
All right, we're into the quarters now, Chase.
Yeah, this top matchup. Oh man.
All
Wow.
right,
This top matchup is insane.
all right. I have Sinner Demonar. You have Sinner Draper. Now I'm gonna go first because mine is less interesting.
Yeah.
Sinner Demonar. I think Sinner's 10-0 against Demonar. It's a terrible matchup for Demonar because Sinner. It's just the fact that Sinner does a little bit better. Does everything a little bit better than Demonar. That's basically all that's been in that matchup. Sinner. He just has more firepower than Demonar. And we know Demonar has always kind of struggled with firepower, even though he's added a little bit more in the last couple of years. Yannick's gonna win this in straights for me.
Okay.
Yeah, no,
For
yours
my
is way more
matchup.
interesting. So
Yeah,
let's
for
get to
my
yours.
matchup, Yannick versus Draper, man. Honestly, I've never seen much of them play as of recent.
Yeah, so
I
they've.
haven't.
I'll let you know they played twice. The first time was on grass, and it was in 21 when both guys were totally different players. Draper actually
Yeah.
beat him, and then they
Yeah.
played in the U.S. Open semifinal when Draper threw up all over the court. You remember
Yeah, I
that?
remember the U.S. Open. Yeah, I
Yeah.
remember that. Yeah. Honestly, I can't really give a solid prediction here. I'm going based off of my outlook on Sinner. I see
Mm-hmm.
him probably beating Draper in 4 or 5, most likely.
Okay.
I don't see Draper winning. I see him putting up a fight, and if he does end
Yeah,
up
no,
winning,
no
I will
doubt.
be
If that match
appalled.
does happen, it won't be easy for Yannick.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
Alrighty, do we both have Cerundolo and Djokovic?
Yeah, I see Novak winning this. I think I see Cerundolo as one of the best clay players, but I don't think it'll be enough to deter Novak, considering he was able to handle Rafa all these years on clay. Um, I don't see Cerundolo putting up that much of a fight. Maybe going to 4 or 3, like 4 max for me.
Okay, I'm gonna set the stage a little bit last year for this because last year these guys did play. Djokovic and Cerundolo. They played in the fourth round last year at the French, and Cerundolo was up 2-1 against him, and he was up a break in the fourth. And Djokovic, this was right about when he tore his meniscus in the knee, if you remember.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And Cerundolo kind of capitulated a little bit mentally. I think he thought about, oh, I'm actually about to beat the GOAT here in a Grand Slam. And it got
Yeah,
into his head a little bit, and Djokovic came through in 5 sets. Again, he
yeah.
would have to pull out before his next match against Casper Ruud. But it's going to be a tough match for Djokovic, I think. because I mentioned Cerundulo's forehand and that drop shot and that whole combo is so tough, but I still like Djokovic's experience to come through, and I'm gonna say a tight four setter.
Yeah, I feel the same as well.
Alrighty, um, I have Musetti Komasanya. You have Musetti Fritz, right?
Yeah,
All right. I have Musetti over Komasanya. I don't think there's much to say there.
yeah, I have Musetti over Fritz as well. I don't think Fritz will be able to do that much damage to Musetti on clay. I feel
Yeah,
like
on clay, Fritz doesn't do
yeah,
anything to
yeah,
Musetti.
Fritz's
All right.
movement isn't as good as Musetti. Yeah, it's kind of obvious.
All right. This is a good match here. Rude and Alcaraz.
Yeah, that'll. Oh, it's gonna be very,
Can
very
Casper
good.
Ruud upset Carlos Alcaraz? That is the question.
Yeah, I honestly don't see it. In a perfect world, like I'm a big Rude fan, so like maybe,
Yeah.
but like just in reality,
Just for some context, guys, Chase is a big Rude fan. I'm a big Yannick Sinner fan, so
yeah,
that's kind of how it is.
yeah, and so like, I want Rude to be Alcaraz, but do I think it's gonna happen? No, he'll probably lose in five. To be honest, like Alcaraz just
Okay. Oh, but you think it's gonna be a five setter though? That's
I think
good.
it's gonna be five. I think they're both very, very, very good clay players. I think it'll go to five.
All right. I think it's gonna be four, and I think Alcaraz will come through. But look, other than that Marjan match, this is probably gonna be Alcaraz's toughest test in getting through to the final. We know
Yeah,
how good Rude's been on the clay, but you just think, does Rude think back to the last time he took on a top 10 player and how he got absolutely obliterated by the world number one in Rome? Could
yeah,
that potentially be in Casper Ruud's mind as he takes on Alcaraz? I don't want the same thing that happened to me when I played Sinner to happen again when I played this other young kid. It
yeah,
could be in his mind. I don't know why, but it could be. And I
yeah,
like the Spaniard to come through. He is the favorite, after all, to win this tournament. Alcaraz through to the semis.
yeah. I see Alcaraz do the semis as well. Yeah.
All right,
Okay.
so we have the same semifinals now. Sinner,
Yeah.
Djokovic, Musetti, Alcaraz, correct?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, now we're gonna change it up. I think we should start with the bottom one first because the top semifinal is the more interesting one. So let's do the
Yeah.
bottom one first.
Okay.
Okay,
Musetti
you can start with
Alcaraz.
Musetti, Alcaraz.
Yeah, we already got a preview of this at Monte Carlo, even though Lorenzo Musetti ended up getting an injury.
Yeah, and Rome.
Yeah, and Rome. Yeah. Honestly, I don't see Alcaraz having that much of a problem with Musetti simply due to Musetti's playstyle being sort of pushing. I don't like to call him a pusher, but
No, he's not. He's not a pusher. He just likes to be on the defense and extracting errors from the
yeah,
opponent.
he doesn't mind to be on defense, which is why I feel like Carlos is going to thrive against that. Carlos is one of the most offensive players we've seen in the 2020 generation. I feel like his ability, tactics specifically on clay, I feel like will definitely mess around with Musetti. I can see Alcaraz winning at four. Honestly, I don't think it's going to go to five.
Okay, you did a great breakdown of that. I'm not going to add too much to that. I have Alcaraz as well making the final.
But yeah, I have Alcaraz making the final.
Okay, Chase, this is going to be the big semifinal. If we get it, it's
Yeah,
going to be
this
like the
is
night match, the primetime match.
yeah, this is
It's
like
Sinner.
everybody's watching this.
It's Sinner. It's Djokovic. Their head-to-head is four apiece as well. Like they're locked in there.
Wow.
Yeah. All right. What are your early thoughts here?
My early thoughts on this, like I said before, Novak's movement won't be able to allow him to play at the level that he usually does against these other players again, compared to Sinner because
Yeah.
I think Sinner is one of the hardest hitters on tour. I think he can out hit Novak as well. Like you talked about it, only three players can out hit Novak. Sinner is one of them.
Yeah.
I think as of now, he is a younger, better version of Novak in a sense that he can move around the court much quicker than Novak. I believe he'll be able to get the job done in four. To be honest with you, I
Yeah.
don't see, I don't see Novak bringing that like animal out of Sinner in a five-set match like he usually would due to this hindered movement.
Yeah, you're definitely right in saying that Sinner is actually he's one of the fewer players, but he can definitely expose Novak's movement, which is not unfortunately Novak catching up to his age. It's not as great as what it was. Sinner
Yeah,
Djokovic, it's gonna be a spectacle, but ultimately, Chase, I'm gonna agree with you. I think Sinner's gonna win, and remember, Novak's 38. He's playing in Geneva this week. If he gets to the semifinals, how is he gonna be feeling physically? We didn't mention
yeah,
that either.
yeah. He's gonna be
Yeah.
gassed, man. He's going to be gassed.
Yeah, all right. I'm picking Sinner. Chase, we have the final that everyone wants, the People's Final.
The
It's going to
people's
be a
final.
rematch of Rome. Sinner, Alcaraz. Alcaraz has won the
Yeah,
last four. I mean, what are we thinking here?
Dude, honestly, the way Rome was looking, I think Alcaraz is gonna pull a lot of tactics out of his bag versus Yannick. I feel like the return stance is still gonna differ as well. Alcaraz was he was he's previewing a return stance inside of the baseline in Rome versus Sinner, rather than his usual climbing the ladder, standing like almost as far back as Rafa on clay. I feel like it'll be more of a service battle and a return battle rather than an actual like rallies and
Oh,
baseline battle.
that's interesting because I
Yeah,
would think on clay you probably would think least about the serve and return.
yeah. I think a lot of people, it's a spot that a lot of people underestimate, especially with these two young stars that like,
Yeah.
dude, their spot serving, especially Alcaraz when he serves wide, is by precision, dude. Like, there's not an error in their serving, which especially in Rome too. In the first set, I was watching that live. It was mostly a matter of who can return the ball in efficiently, you know?
Yeah, I know. I heard. I didn't get a chance to watch the match, but I did hear that there were a lot of missed returns in the first set, and I believe that was due to both guys being nervous. And by the
Yeah,
way, let me just set the stage here. Sinner and Alcaraz are both undefeated in Grand Slam finals. Sinner is
yeah,
3-0. Alcaraz is 4-0. So if we get this match, one of these guys is going to lose their first Grand Slam final. And
yeah,
both of these guys know each other. They're good friends off the court. And they're both going to be nervous, I think, coming into this, knowing
yeah,
the stakes
hundred
that are up
percent, dude,
are
100%.
here.
Yeah, yeah. Honestly, no, I see. Alcaraz in big finals like Masters 1000s, that I believe is 11-1. The
Yes, he has
only
one loss, and the one loss was
and
against
Novak
Djokovic, and he
Djokovic
had
in
championship point in that match, so he could
2023. Yeah,
literally be 12-0 right now.
yeah, in 2023 in Cincinnati. That is one of the best
Yeah,
matches of the 20s.
yeah, that is one of the greatest matches I believe of all time in three
Yeah,
sets.
yeah. I mean, I don't think Alcaraz is gonna lose in the clutch here either. I think if Yannick wants to win this final, he has to open up his game more and get more variety. I don't think he can just baseline rally with Carlos anymore like he used to be able to. I think Carlos's game is has much more variety with the slice he's implementing with the drop shots. I think he's gonna get really tactical versus Yannick, and Yannick is gonna have to come up with different ways to get past him. And if he doesn't, he will end up losing like how he did in Rome.
Yeah, and one of the dynamics between these two that has kind of changed is if you think back to a couple of years ago when Alcaraz was the better player, he was the number one player, and Sinner was kind of still in the lower tier of the top 10, kind of outside the top 10. And when they would play, and Sinner would upset Alcaraz more than Alcaraz would beat Sinner, and we would talk about how Sinner is rushing Alcaraz. He is being the one that is more offensive. And right now it's a little bit different because now Sinner is kind of the more he's kind of the more consistent player,
Consistent
right?
baseliner, yeah.
Yeah. He's not as aggressive. He can be aggressive, but like you said, he still lacks a little bit of variety, right? Alcaraz has kind of all the variety in the world, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
On
so
top of
it's
that,
going to be really interesting to see. It's going to be on clay. Look, I mentioned this to you, Chase, before. Alcaraz has won the last four, but they've all been on slower surfaces, and again, this is going to be on another slower surface. It's going to be interesting to see what Sinner does off that backhand return when Alcaraz hits the kick on the
yeah,
wide. What does Sinner do? Does he maybe come in more and kind of hit backhands through the middle on the return, or
yeah,
does he stay back and maybe just get a racket on the return? Like,
yeah,
what does he do there, right?
yeah. To add on to that, I was going to say three things. My first being
Mm-hmm.
that he tried that in Rome. He was stepping up onto the baseline a lot and taking a lot
Uh-huh.
of backhand returns, but they didn't have any depth on them.
Okay,
Carlos is
yeah. So
easily able to swing
there's
into
no
that.
point in doing that if he can't get depth.
Yeah, if he can't, I think he's going to practice the inside returns, and I also think Alcaraz's forehand defense specifically is the best on in the entire like tour right now, and I think his movement on clay is also going to benefit him on defense versus Yannick. And to also pinpoint the amount of power that he has on his forehand defense, the average tours like miles per hour on their forehand when they're on their back foot is 69 miles per hour. Alcaraz gets 76, and with as much spin as he puts on the ball, Yannick's offense is going to be stifled the whole match. And if he wants to go backhand to backhand with Carlos, Carlos also has a slice to switch out the whole court. And I just think it's going to be too much for Sinner to handle, honestly.
Yeah, so those are some great factoids there and a great analysis there. But let's stop it there and let's make our predictions because if we do get this final, guys, we are going to make a preview video where we talk about all this. So let's stop the analysis here. Let's make a prediction. Chase, do you want to go first or should I go first?
I'll go first. I have
Okay.
Alcaraz winning in five.
Okay.
I think it'll go to five, 100%. Um, yeah, I have Alcaraz winning in five. His movement on clay and his tactics are just too much.
Okay, so I'm picking Alcaraz. I'm actually going with in four.
Okay.
I think you mentioned everything, like everything that happened in Rome. There's not much Sinner right now can do to change. Something else I do want to
Yeah.
mention: Sinner does. We kind of mentioned in his 3 month layoff, he bulked up a little bit, and it seems to me that maybe his movement has just been maybe a half step a little bit slower. It seemed to me like in the second set in Rome, from what I from what I saw in that match, it didn't seem like Sinner was moving as well as he particularly can. And if Sinner isn't moving 100% against Alcaraz, he needs to be.
He's going to
So
get burnt. Yeah.
I have Alcaraz in four, honestly.
Yeah, I think Sinner's movement was also hindered by his right leg, like he said before. Remember when we were talking about
Yeah,
that?
he had the blister. Yeah,
Yeah, he said it wasn't going to be a problem. Well, he was a step slower in the second set, and look what happened. I mean, he
yeah,
got
exactly.
pressed to me. I mean, that's just, it goes to show how close their matchup is. But yeah, I mean, that's all I have to say about that.
Well, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah,
We are both picking Carlos Alcaraz to win the French
Roland
Open in
Garros. Yeah,
2025.
back to back.
All right.
All
Well,
right,
Chase, that was fun. I enjoyed doing that.
that was very, very fun. Great first episode, man.
Yep. Guys, if you're watching this, thank you so much for watching our very first
Thank you
episode.
so much.
To give you some context, we will be coming back every single day once the tournament starts, and we will be doing a daily roundup where we discuss kind of how the contenders went, how their first matches went,
Yeah,
some upsets, and we'll be doing some previews for the next day's action. So do not worry, we will be back very shortly. We will probably
very,
be back
very
around
shortly.
Sunday night, maybe wee hours of Monday morning. We will have the first ever daily roundup uploaded. Chase, do you have anything to add on to that?
Not really, man. Just level of support from everybody that we're gonna get for sure.
Yeah. Guys, make sure to follow us on Instagram. We are on TikTok. We will eventually be on Twitter as
Yeah.
well. Like, subscribe, all of that. Thank you so much for
Thank you
joining
so
us,
much.
and we will see you in the next one.